Hi everyone, this is Matt from drawingtutorialsonline.com. How are you guys doing this Saturday morning? We have Sandy here from Northern Ireland. Awesome. Hey Sandy, how are you? Paul, thanks for joining from the UK. Ileana from Montreal, Canada. And Nancy from Ontario, Canada. How are you all doing this morning? It's beautiful here. The weather has just completely changed on Eastern Long Island. Let me lower my volume here. Yeah, the weather has completely changed. It was like in the 40s last night. So, yeah, 40 degrees, not Celsius. I always confuse those two. But it's gorgeous today. Wind is blowing, very, very cool out. So fall is in the air. And I want to thank you all for joining me here today. Now, what I'd like to do for you today is work on a sketch of this Greuze drawing. I bought this book many, many years ago. The name of the artist is Jean-Baptiste Greuze. I'm sure, hey, Aura, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but that's his name. And there's quite a few images of his on Google. I mean, I don't love all of his paintings. I don't love all of his drawings. Kavya, good morning from India. But he's pretty good. And this is part of a painting. And when you just look at the fabric, it's like, oh my God, that is so good. Now, if we kind of just flip through this book a little bit, just to kind of give you a little bit of history, here's the painting in the book. It's a little bit bigger than what you see over there on the monitor. Ismael, welcome. Phoenix, welcome. And this is titled Head of a Woman. Now, I've got a link in the more information section right underneath the video, the live stream video. Welcome, Sam Paul. And you can download, you can just drag the image from my blog right to your desktop. There's the link. Anne, how are you? Right there on the blog post. So there's a couple of drawings. Like this drawing is unbelievable. And this is probably the reason why I purchased the book. And I'm definitely going to do a masterclass on both of his drawings. Frankie J, welcome. Yeah, Wheeling, West Virginia. I always got to say it. It just it rolls off the tongue, and love it. I mean, look at this drawing in the book. I'm definitely going to do a masterclass on this one. It's really on his drawings and on his paintings, Jean-Baptiste Greuze. I'm probably butchering his name. But that is a wickedly great drawing. Now, I can't find this drawing. Hey, Jill. C. Morsha, welcome. And Marie, welcome. Let me move that little guy over there. So without further ado, I'll flip through a couple of other images. If you can find, if you just type in his name, okay, Jean-Baptiste Greuze in Google, and you search images, and when you find the image of this older woman, the drawing, it's incredible, okay? It's, sometimes you get really good reproductions in the book, and sometimes you find really good reproductions online. This is part of the painting called Broken Eggs. It's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Eva Gard, welcome from Russia. Tak Enda. Basil Ismail. Awesome. Love all these really cool names. And that's the Broken Eggs painting. So there's some flaws in this painting, believe it or not, which I'm going to talk about in the masterclass. Sloop. Boy, that's a tough one. God. I'm just going to say Sloopy. Sloopel. Now, let's get to the drawing here. So once again, what you see on your monitor in the center of the screen is Head of a Woman by Jean-Baptiste Greuze. And what can we learn? Yesterday, actually the other day, I sent out an email to members of drawingtutorialsonline.com, and I asked them what they would like to see next in terms of a new course, some new lessons, and I got different answers from everybody, and I suggested that I wanted to do a masterclass series on analyzing old master portraits just like this one. And and then to kind of try to paint them digitally. I thought that would be really cool. Adele Listic from Israel, welcome. And Ingrid had sent me back an email, and she had mentioned in the sentence, what could we learn from this particular painting? And I thought that was a really, really good question to ask when we're doing Yash Yadav Arts, welcome. I thought that was a really great question to ask. What could we learn from this portrait? Well, I have it zoomed in a little bit bigger on my iMac right in front of me. And what I could learn from it is that it's really soft. There's really, really, really not a lot of hard edges whatsoever. You know, we look at the nostril, and the nostril kind of has a hard edge, but everything feels very soft, especially the hairline. So yeah, and you can see my hairline kind of coming in. That's soft too. So I wanted to just start a little bit here so I can kind of warm up right before the live stream. And what how did I start? Okay, because everyone always loves to hear how did you start. Let me just make sure I'm back. My microphone's back here, and I'm in the image. Good. Okay, so I usually start all different places. Each portrait is going to be a different spot for me to start. You know, and my philosophy is you start at the area that looks easiest for you to understand. That's my philosophy. Okay, if you understand the eye, start with the eye. If you understand the angles on the outside of the head, start with that. With this particular drawing, what I did was I started right here, okay, on this section of her hair. And Ingrid's question, what can we learn from this portrait? Well, immediately, as soon as I put this line down for the edge of her hair, I realized, my goodness gracious, there is no line. This is just really very soft. The tone on her hair versus the shape of her face, shape of hair, shape of face. There's barely any hard edge over here. And if you were painting this, wow, that's a tough name. Welcome from India. Welcome. Okay. Sometimes I can't even say my own last name. But what we say here, what we see here is basically the side of her hair is so soft. And if you were going to paint that, I would definitely be using burnt sienna right out of the tube. At least that's my opinion. And it's so soft, very thin and translucent right over here when you look at the photo reference. So I started here, and this is kind of going straight up and down. And then I angled over, and then I angled over here, but then I pulled back to the left just a touch. There is no line here, but I'm representing where her hair touches her face with a line. Okay, so right over here, just going a little soft with it. And then I looked at the forehead. So there's an angle, okay, and then we have another angle, and then an angle kind of coming down right over here, straight up and down. It's a little bit smaller than what I have. Okay, so then next step for me is I'm going to cling on to something that is easy. What else when I look at this portrait is easy for me to draw? So I say, well, right over here, this feels easy. This part, this line that I'm seeing, it's not a line, it's a tonal shift. So I see this tonal shift from the side of her temple to her eyebrow area to the eye socket area. And then we kind of come on down over here. Okay, and then this part of her eyebrow is a little bit level. So that's where I started. And then I want to get in a little bit of shape. So we see a little bit of shape over here. We see a little bit of shape. Now, a lot of the portraits that we see from Jean-Baptiste Greuze have a lot of emotion to them. All of them actually have emotion. So when you look at this painting of this young lady, there's emotion. She's sad. She's upset. And then you look at some of the other images in the book of his paintings, sleeping. So there's always a movement. This one, there's some emotion of the person looking up. So when we look at this portrait of a woman here in the center of the screen, there is an emotion, and there's a little furrow here in her brow. So she kind of almost feels a little distraught and not necessarily happy. And her eyebrow is tilted down. So she doesn't look happy per se. So I want to get that emotion. I want to come on in. I want to get this little shape over here. And then I notice, oh, okay, this eyebrow is much higher than this eyebrow. And quite frankly, when I look at the edge of this eyebrow, this is tricky. Because when I look at this, I'm like, whoa, is this really happening on this painting? Because when I first drew it, it was so much further apart. So I look at the eyebrow, and then I look at this eyebrow, and I'm like, this eyebrow is much lower. This eyebrow is much higher, okay? And they're almost touching. It's very strange. So when I look at this eyebrow, you have to tackle it as a shape. It's such a soft-edged. Hey, Michael, welcome. Michael, you're doing great with your images. I know I've said that in the comments and in the video critique that I did of your artwork, your portraits, but you're really getting better. Just stick with it. You know, you're just going to be cranking. So what we're talking about here, Michael, is softness. Okay. So what I'm saying here is this eyebrow is so soft. There's barely any edge. We come on down and we look at her eyelashes. So very soft. And then when I'm drawing her eye, I'm not necessarily going to draw outlines with this particular painting. So we go back to Ingrid's question, what can we learn from this old master's painting? And what we can learn is that it's really soft. So if I'm going to come on in now, I'm going to get her upper lid. You got it, Michael. I'm going to get her upper eyelid, which is going to be represented as a little shadow shape over here underneath her eyebrow. And then we're going to get the shadow shape that comes down and just really blends into her eyes, or at least that eye. Okay, no edges here, really soft. Then we have our lower eyelid, which turns, and then this little section. So what I'm looking, how is the hardest part of the drawing? Ask me that question again. I don't understand that question. So I'm going to come on in and just get where this shadow shape is in relationship to the bridge of her nose, bridge of the nose right over here. So what I've started with are shadow shapes. I've started with, let's put a little tone in over here. Okay, let me just scribble. My hand's getting a little shaky, trying to be too perfect here. And I'm going to do a little bit of shading over here. So there's tonal shifts. Okay, a little shading over here. We have the side of her eye. I want her eyelid to be nice and skinny. Her eyelashes nice and dark. Hi, Eric. Thanks for joining. Good to see you. Okay, now, lower eyelid. Very thin line right over here. So now I'm looking at the distance from her eyelid to this area. And I'm not going to commit. I'm not saying what I have there is perfect. I'm just suggesting. You know, this is so very soft that I can erase it out no problem with the kneaded eraser or any eraser. Now, I'm not going to go super dark with that eye just yet. So we have a little front plane. Now, let's go back over here to the hair. Okay. Do you know if traditional paintings like this had the model sitting? Oh, yeah, they were sitting. No doubt about it. They were sitting. No, not from memory. This model probably really needed the money and just sat and was paid for her time. Hey, Julio. Yeah, Ling Yu Ma. Hey. So you can see that we just kind of have an impression going on. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of tone over here. I don't want to get stuck in this area, but I just want to show you where I start. Who is the hardest part of the drawing? What do you think about that? Okay, so I think that question is, what is the hardest part of the drawing? For me, the answer is every drawing is different. It's not a cop-out. Sometimes the eyes could be the hardest part. Sometimes the overall shape of the face. Sometimes one eye is in the shadow and you can't really see it. So my answer to that question is every drawing is different. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. I can't say that, oh, every time the eyes are the hardest or every time the hair is the hardest. It's different for everybody. Hey, Ty. Very cool. Good to see you, man. All right, so now let's try maybe to get a little bit of the shape of this woman's face. So we've got the shadow shape, we've got her eyelash, we have this eyebrow as a shape, it's underneath this eyebrow. We've established her forehead, we've established the line of her hair, although my line of the hair is too hard-edged. So now we're going to come in over here and get this swoop of her hair. And that is lower than that. I've made it too lower. So now I'm going to start right over here and get the bottom of her ear. And I'm just going to take a leap of faith, very light pressure. So I'm looking at this to this. Okay. Now, I measured before. So here's what I did. In this case, how do you measure for proportions? Oh, wow, Julio, you were reading my mind. You cannot life model too easy and draw can. Ooh, that's a tough question. Yeah, finding a life model is really hard. So what I did here for measurements when I take out the book, I didn't really take any measurements. I'm looking at a distance from here to here. So that's my first measurement, from here to here, from that tone to the edge of her face. But then I take my ruler and I say, okay, I've got the bridge of the nose and I want to run my ruler parallel with the edge of the print in this book. And so the bridge, let me just straighten that. The bridge of her nose is equal with the tip of her chin. So do you see that? So that's one vertical measure line that I'm going to employ in this drawing. Okay. Now, another thing that I can also employ is if we go to the top of her hair, bottom of her chin, top of her hair, bottom of her chin. I'm going to say maybe that lower eyelid right there is the middle of that. Somewhere in between the pupil and the eyelid is the middle of that. So those are two very, very fast, non-tedious, quick measurements we could take to help us with this particular drawing. So now I could say, all right, what's bridge of the nose, chin? It's got to be going straight up and down. So I'm just going to kind of suggest where that is. Okay. So now I'm going to come back and we have this part of her jaw and I'm going to get shape of value. Seems a little too long for me. So we drew this too long. So we're going to raise this. And we want to get the angle of this tonal shift. Hey, Sabi, welcome. Now, let's dance down. So let's come back to the bridge of the nose. And look at the distance from the bottom of her nose to this. Her lips are going to go past her chin. Her chin is extremely round and it's on that line. Okay, so we have just a couple of quick little measurements. Now, I want to get the bottom of the chin, jaw, neck. Let's not live in a vacuum. Good. And now from here, let's get the shape of her skin. Okay, so now let's not live in a vacuum. Let's come over here. So everything counts at this point. So let's just get a little bit of the shape of her hair. And this is very level. So I'm using very soft edges right now. Very level. Let's come on down with her, let's just call it a bandana. Gesture. Good. Okay, so this and this needs to be over to the left. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just taking it nice and easy. Julio, Jeffrey, welcome, man. Good to see you. Hope all is well. So this is from Julio. So what you are doing for measurement is the bark method. I'm sure it is, because there's, quite frankly, there's not a lot of ways to measure. So if you come across 10 different teachers on YouTube, maybe 10 of them measure the same way, because measuring's easy. Measuring is this analytical thing that you do where you say, what is right below this? What is right across from the top of this eyebrow? Okay, so that's just using plumb lines and level lines to measure. But then there's another thing, and the other thing is called size relationships. And that's where people usually mess up. So maybe they draw their eyes too big because they can't get the size of that eye in relationship to the entire head. Okay? So there's measure lines, angles, size relationships. And size relationships take a while to get. You got it. Rally. That's a tough one. Yeah, one day at a time, brother. You know, God, going digital or staying traditional. You have to go with your gut. And who's to say, why do you need to make a decision? Why can't you do both? So why can't you do some pieces traditional and some digital? So you immediately take that equation out of the mix. So for me, if somebody asked, hey, Carol, from the UK, yeah, size relationships are harder. So Jeff, if somebody said to me back in the day when I used to paint book covers, pencil or oil paint, I had to do both. I had to do pencil sketches and I had to do the finished product in an oil paint. So I did both. So why can't you do maybe some pencil drawings as well as digital? Don't make it an either or proposition, because then you're going to rack your brain and be like, oh God, which one do I do? Which one do I do? Am I making the right decision? Maybe there is no right decision. Maybe you can practice both simultaneously and both will help you. Okay, because it's really just using your hands. Now, the tip of the nose comes out to the right of the eyebrow. I got to admit, this is not easy. Having a little bit of struggle here today. But that's okay. It's all practice. I can put my ego aside and just screw up right in front of you. But I wouldn't say that I've screwed up. It's just hard, it's just hard to do this quickly. But these are the steps that I would be taking. I'd be going nice and slow, really just playing the music, enjoying myself, having a cup of coffee, maybe listening to a podcast. So I want to get that round chin. Now, the one measurement that I really want to stick with, make sure that I've got this. I should use a little straight edge. I've been drawing straight things lately, and I just bought this little thing. It was very helpful. I like it because it's very thin. So the brow, I can't believe I'm using this tool. I used to use this in high school. Now, in my studio, this is going straight up and down. Okay. On the video monitor, it's tilted. It's not tilted in real life. So I'm going from the bridge of the nose to the chin, and I'm happy with that. Okay. Because that's what the measurement that I took. Now, I just want to lift the lower lip. Now, it's been my experience that until I draw the shape of the hair and until I start to match some values, it's going to look weird. It's not going to look like her 100%. But I'm not into drawing the shape of the hair just yet. I want to come on down and get this jawbone, which is very curved, and roll it in to the underplane of her chin. No, it's not easy, combining rhythm and measurement. So in this particular case, Julio, repetition is the mother of skill, okay? So if any discipline, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, mixed martial arts, whatever you're into, if you watch these people, and let's say you wanted to get really good at free throws in basketball, well, what is the professional going to tell you? They're going to say, give me 1,000 of them, and then you start to get the hang of it. So the more of these portraits you do, the more you're going to get the hang of it. And really, in the end, it's getting some good techniques from a teacher that you trust and implementing those techniques, and then repetition is the mother of skill. Just doing it many, 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 many times. And whether or not you go slow or fast is totally up to you. Okay, so this upper lip is to the right. Lower lip. Chin. I'm just doing some angles here. as well as a little bit of continuous line. Good. So now I'm just trying to solidify that edge line. I haven't done much on the interior except for this shadow shape. Yeah, I mean, I've been teaching, God, I don't even know now, 23 years. And so when you have a room of 18-year-olds looking over your shoulder, 18 and 19-year-olds, as well as adults, because I used to teach adults as well, and an 18 and a 19-year-old is an adult, you could lose their attention extremely quickly. So if I'm just quiet and I'm not talking and I'm drawing, I'm going to lose them. So what I've learned over the years is to talk, joke, have fun, tease people in a kind way, to build camaraderie in the classroom. So it takes a while. And many, many years ago when I used to paint book covers, I would be painting in my studio all day. We're talking like in some days 10 hours a day, 9 hours a day, 12 hours a day if I had to meet a deadline. And it got, there's only so much music you can listen to. And I used to listen to audiobooks and all that while I used to paint. And then sometimes I had this incredible phone in the 90s, and I just it was really old school, hooked up to the wall, no cell phones. And I just used to plop it on speakerphone and talk to my friends and family for like hours when I'd be painting. So it's a good thing to do, because once you get the basics, the hard part's always the beginning when you're doing something like this. But once you get it, then it's the basics of matching values, shading, all that fun stuff. But this is the hard part. Okay, now I think we should do a little bit on the inside. And so there's this thing, this lip needs to be higher. Let's do the shadow shape higher. So there's this thing with repetition. So we have this angle, repeats the angle on her nose, repeats the angle on her lip. So her lip's going to come down here. So where is this part of her mouth in relationship to her eye? It's to the right. So her eye would be here. Pull a line down. Okay, so we're in the vicinity. Let's just put a little tone over there. Good. I think the nose needs to be raised, but let's just leave it right now. So I don't want to commit. Let me lift the nose and look at the distance from here to the nose lobe. And then let's just light nostril, and we're going to lift the nose. Good. Okay, nice and soft. Notice how I'm not using my darkest darks just yet. So let's just place the nostril. It may not be correct, but let's just place it very lightly. So if it's wrong, we can erase it out very easily. Okay, so her nose is a little bit rounder. Now my pencil's getting dull. So when I draw with my pencil like this, it's good that it's a little bit duller, because if it's sharp, I'm going to make a really sharp mark, and that's going to be hard to erase. This is easier. MCLA film. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. You don't see me sweating with this. Yeah, struggling. A little struggle going on here today. This is kind of tedious. Now, the thing that makes this tedious and difficult is that, what did we say in the beginning of the lesson here today? What do we learn from this John-Baptiste Greuze painting? God, all of the edges are so soft. And I love drawing with line. I also like drawing with tone, but I like line. Line is my favorite at this stage in my career. It's so much easier to see edges when things are edgier. This is so soft, it's hard to see. So that's the thing to be learned. Now, if you are one of those artists, and I've experienced this a lot, where, I'll teach the line thing, and they're like, well, I had a teacher, they say there's no such thing as line, it's only tone. I'm like, that's cool. I agree with that. But you do you, and I'll do me, and you take from what I teach and apply it to the tone thing. So this is a painting, obviously, and it's very tonal. It's not linear. So we're just trying to be soft with it. And there's a lot of lost edges. Like I'm going a little too hard over here. So I could put a little tone in the background. Okay, just soft. Don't worry about having such a hard edge. I'm worried about that too much. I need to get that out of my mind. And nice and soft tone. So there's no edge to her nose. It's just like so blurry. So soft right over there. Okay, so now let's go back. So I'm looking at this tone here of the eye socket region above her cheekbone. Well, I'd love to be doing a sketchbook video. Unfortunately, I'm going to start teaching on October 1st via Zoom at the School of Visual Arts, not in the classroom. So I don't know. I'm still, sometimes I like to save things to the last minute. I don't know how I'm going to handle the sketchbooks with a virtual class this year. I'm not going to be in the city to film these sketchbooks. It's so sad. It's really disgusting and sad at the same time that these students are paying all this money, but I can't. I got to keep my thoughts to myself and just shut up. I don't know how I'm going to handle the sketchbooks. I really don't. But it's just, I don't have a problem teaching with Zoom, but there's so many different things. I mean, I've been teaching in the classroom since 1997, and there's teaching online, which is one thing, which is what I'm trying to do and help you guys right now. But then there's teaching in a classroom when you have live people, 20 people in the classroom. And that's a whole different skill. And the sketchbooks are a wonderful way to build camaraderie with the students, a little quiet, gentle, friendly competition amongst the students as well. And we're not going to have that this year, at least the fall semester. And I don't know what's going to happen in the spring semester. So I'd love to film more sketchbooks. I just don't know how to do it. I have to put my thinking cap on. Could I have the students film their own sketchbook? Sure. And then I would do a monologue on top of it. Oh, well, maybe I can do a virtual sketchbook tour with the students. So talking about it just kind of made me think about an option. Okay. Yeah, I would love to do more sketchbooks because the students that go to the School of Visual Arts, they're so talented. And if I showed you my sketchbooks when I was their age, first of all, I would never do that. I still have them. They're in the basement in my flat files. Oh my God, I'd be so embarrassed. They're so bad. I used to draw like cars and it was just awful. I couldn't draw when I was in college. I could paint, but I couldn't draw. Now, this ear, so size relationships. This ear needs to go over to the left. At least there. Here. This is very long and very wide. I'm going to put a little tone in. Cool. Her hair is flowing this way, so my pencil stroke direction is going to go with her hair. You know, this is one of those types of images that would take me forever. And I would just sit here and just enjoy it, spend 5 hours on it. I love these old master paintings. And I remember the first time I went to the, not the first time I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but the first time I saw the John-Baptiste Greuze painting called Broken Eggs, which has something to do with losing one's virginity, I do believe. But that's a topic for another day. That's above my pay grade. It's at the Met, that painting. And I saw that painting. I'm like, my God, that's the way that I want to paint. But seeing that painting was really humbling because there are mistakes in that painting. Okay. And that was actually an eye-opener to me that I saw perspective mistakes in that painting. And it made me realize that these people in the museum are humans and they make mistakes. They're so bad, they're probably amazing then. Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's see. So, John, I don't get what you mean. They're so bad, they're probably amazing. Okay, so bandana. Don't go there with me, Julio. I feel very old today. Yeah, don't go there with me, Julio. I'm just kidding. Sorry for the scratchy throat. Excuse me for a moment. Let me just get a little glass of water here. Um, okay, so this is from Jeff. When you are measuring, how do you keep from drawing too long or too wide? Okay. Great question, Jeff. Love it. So, what do you see here? You see a line, then another line, then another line. Those are called targets. Okay. And before I commit to the ear, I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out. Is the edge of the ear here? Is it here? Or is it here? So that is, get my old fashioned. I feel so old fashioned when I use this ruler. Everyone's using Procreate, and I'm here with like a ruler from 1975. That's 3/16 of an inch, and I can't believe I just said that. So that's a huge difference, Jeff, and with a traditional drawing. So look, I don't know yet if this is the edge of her shirt collar. Is that the edge? Is that the edge? Or is that the edge? So I'm figuring this out as I go, and that will determine if it's going to be too wide. So those are called targets. Oops, sorry. Oh, my sketchbooks. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you for clearing that up, John. Now I understand. Yeah, no. My paint, I'll give myself props. I was a really good painter, but drawing in my sketchbook, no, I was not. No one will ever see them. Hey, Brian. Yeah, so just to kind of drop some names here for a moment. I'm not a big name dropper because, quite frankly, I don't know a lot of famous people, but I went to college with Dorian Vallejo, which is Boris Vallejo's son. And he was one of my best friends in college. And I used to watch him draw in his sketchbook. And when I used to watch him draw, he inspired me to draw in my sketchbook. But honestly, like I felt like I was in second grade and he was in college. That was how different we were in our skill levels. So it's really important. So just a side note, as I just step back from this drawing and look at it, it's really super duper important that when you're learning how to draw, you let your ego go and you are not afraid to not be the best person in the classroom, but almost be the worst person in the classroom, because you're going to learn so much more from your fellow classmates who kick your butt versus the teachers. So I learned so much from my friend Dorian at the time in college. Actually, I learned more from him in some instances than I learned from some of my teachers, because I just accepted that he was kicking my butt, but I was okay with that because his father was a famous illustrator, and I learned a lot. So I just started drawing in my sketchbook, and I knew my drawings were never going to be as good as his, but I tried, and that was my journey forward. Yeah. You have the sketchbooks of Cezanne. Wow. He couldn't draw, but he can paint. Yeah, I know that feeling. How do you scale the size of your drawings? Meaning, say I have a small picture, I want to do both small. So the more you do this, Jeff, okay, so I'll answer this question, then I'll get back to sketching this thing so I don't put you all to sleep. Or I'll try to sketch and talk at the same time. So there's two different ways that I like to draw. So in the classroom, if I'm drawing a life-size model, my drawings are always going to be like 18-inch tall piece of paper, 18-inch tall pad. My drawings are always going to be like 16 inches tall. So doing it for many, many years, that's because I'm holding my pad horizontally to get three figures across on the horizontal piece of paper. They're always going to be 15, 16, 17 inches tall. Okay, so that's how a system that I have for myself and what I've developed in the classroom. But in my studio, what I've noticed when I'm not drawing from life, I usually tend to draw the size of the photo. Okay, and today I'm drawing a little bit bigger than the size of the photo, and it's that you have to pick one area, Jeff. And so the one area for me is this area. So I'm not going to skimp on that area. That area for me has to be tight. And that's my home base, and I can't deviate. So everything is going to be measured from maybe even the eye socket shape. Okay, so in relationship to the eye socket shape, how big is this part, this dark part of her hair? So that's telling me that her ear needs to be moved over. So maybe the edge of her ear there. I don't know if I answered your question, but you know the answer, if I can answer it very shortly, is that you develop a process that you do over and over and over again. And I really recommend to people in the coaching. I'm not promoting the coaching. I took the coaching off my website for now because I'll be teaching at the college and I just don't have time. But yeah, start with the same sized paper and don't keep changing paper sizes. Just stick with the same size paper for a while and get used to that size paper. Okay. And that will help you to get good size relationships and draw the same size. That's a really good tip. And I always use an 18 by 24 pad in the classroom. So yeah, I always draw the same size height figures. You got it, Jeff. I'm glad that you did the coaching, very much so. And you did great. So let's commit now. So let me push. Okay, so edge of the ear. This is where this shirt collar starts to kick to the left. Kick to the left. So you see, this was my target, and that's wrong. Okay, and I'm okay with it being wrong because it's just the beginning stages. So now the pit of the neck is underneath her earlobe. So I'm not saying these measurements that I'm doing right now are correct. I'm going a little too slow here. Let's branch out. And where does her shoulder start? Here, closer to her neck. Comes down, look at the negative space, angles up. Look at the negative space. Good. Okay, cool. Now let's put in a dark. Paul. Yeah, Paul, you grew so much. We talked about that in your last call, and love it, man. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're sticking with it. Now, this little angle where there's this lower part of her chin jaw, where does this angle start, and what is right up above that? So the edge. Okay, that's not bad. That's a quick little measurement that will help. I'm going to put a little dark here. I'm going to commit, feather away. Now remember, you could do all this stuff. It may not look like her until you match all the values. And that's something we talk about all the time. Being able to match values. What are values? These are values. So we have light, dark, middle tone, light middle tones, dark middle tones. So sometimes it's not going to look like what you're drawing until you match the values. But this is going to be a long drawing, and I'm not ready to just start committing to the value structure. I really want to take my time. So I'm going to just scribble down. There's a cast shadow over here. So the paper I'm using today is this paper. I've got to change it in the description. It's cheap paper. It's not expensive. It's the Strathmore toned gray. And it's a small pad. It's 11 by 14, 80-pound paper. Okay, this is a common pad. I like to use some things in my life. I like to buy high-end stuff. Other things in my life, I like to buy basic stuff, okay? And with art materials, I like to buy basic stuff because I know they're always going to make it. It's not a specialty item. It's something that they're always going to make, and it's a common thing that you can find all over the country, like I'm traveling every day. And You just buy it anywhere. It's always in stock. I'm a big believer. I love Strathmore products. I love Winsor & Newton paints. You can buy them at any art supply store. They're not a specialty item. Okay, so nose, earlobe. And this paper is not expensive, and you can buy it anywhere. Can you tone paper with graphite? I can't find tone paper here in my country, and I don't like tone with charcoal. Well, what I do, and I have a scrap piece right here, is I use illustration board. That's what this is. You see how it's 4-ply illustration board, and I paint it. Okay, and you can really see I paint it with acrylic. And you can, yeah, so you can do it that way. And then I save these 2 scraps. You can draw on top of this with this pencil. It's perfect. I've done my best drawings on that board. And I've been using that board for over 30 years. Okay. So let me, I'm pressing down so lightly, I haven't resharpened the pencil once yet. I don't always use tone papers. When I draw in the classroom from life, I always use regular white paper. Let me sharpen this pencil. But as of late, if you look at my Instagram, which I have not been adding much as of late, a lot of my newer posts on Instagram, my Instagram link is right in the description of this video. You see everything is kind of tonal, not white paper. But when you go back a little bit, everything's white paper because I was doing mainly live drawings in the classroom. Okay, where are we? Okay. Now, I'm still not sold. Basically, what I need to do is I'm going to slide the whole drawing over. I don't want to zoom out. I'm going to move this over, and I'm just going to try to get... So when you do this, make sure it's parallel to the edge of your... Oops. Parallel to the edge of the board. Okay, good. Learned that from my sign shop experience. So I worked in a sign shop when I was in college for 3 years. And this was an old-fashioned sign shop where the guy used to hand paint letter. We also had a vinyl machine. But, you know, he taught me how to look when you would do the painted letters. You don't look at the letters, you look at the space in between the letters. That really helped me with my measurements. I can see the dust flying around. I hope you can't. Wouldn't it smudge the paper if you laid graphite to create that toned effect? Well, a member and a coaching student, Craig, bought me as a gift, very nice of him, pan pastels. And here's the tool. So I've used this tool to put some tone on the paper, the pan pastel, very minimal. Okay, it's a mess. You get it all over your hand. You have to use a tool like this. This is called a bridge. And you put the bridge so you have your hands not touching the paper. And yeah, you can do it, no doubt. I don't like to do that. I don't like to use charcoal in my studio. And I've explained on past live streams the reason why I don't is because I have a lot of computers and cameras and lights, and I just don't want charcoal dust all over my studio. Now, let's see here. But charcoal's great. I'm going to just very quickly block in. I don't want to zoom out. I feel when I zoom out, it's too far away. Let's just block in the headdress, the bandana. So you see how I'm doing this? I start with this is a triangle, and then this is level. That needs to go higher, but let me not commit. You see, Jeff, I got 2 targets there. Now this part of the bandana, which comes down. Below her ear, we're doing a measurement very quickly. Cool. So we have this line. And now this is going to be off of the video. Let me try. Where's my remote? Let me try to zoom out. Last time I did this, both cameras zoomed out. Okay, that's cool. Let me push this over again. I want you guys to see how I get the bandana. Bear with me here. So what do you see now in the center middle of your monitor is white paper. So I have this tone paper on white paper. I always like to put a piece of paper. Let me make sure that this is on level. I always like to put a piece of paper underneath my paper because it acts like a cushion. And the pencil has like a nice soft subsurface. Okay, guys, bear with me. This is my analness. I don't know if you guys, this is a really old movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's just so funny. I think it was called The Birdcage with Robin Williams. And there was a part of the movie where the guy, he's like, it's my Guatemalanness. So he was from Guatemala. And they were saying something like, oh, it's his Guatemalanness. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. So this is, I guess, my analness coming through, trying to make the paper perfect. I don't know where that came from, but okay. Sandy, I've been busy painting the last couple of months, and now my drawing skills have suffered. So am I right to think I got to keep drawing a bit every day? Yes. So, Sandy, listen up. When I painted book covers, when I first graduated from college, I didn't have any jobs, right? I needed to build a portfolio, so I did paintings every day. So before I would paint, I would take a half an hour in the morning and I would warm up. So my warm-ups would be with a pencil and a sketchbook. I would draw George Bridgman drawings. I would draw old master drawings like what I'm doing here, and a little bit of the pencil. And then for the paintings, I had to do sketches with the pencil. So if you can, maybe not a half an hour because I know everybody has limited time, but 10 minutes before you paint, you draw. And so you don't lose your touch, because that could go away from you very quickly. To me, it's all the same, right? So I didn't do a painting since 2011, and I just did a painting for a lesson at the website, and I picked it back up fairly quickly. So the more you do, the easier it is. So let's just, okay, her hair, this part. Let's bring this part all the way across. Bandana. Straight down. I just love this painting so much. It is so awesome. So the bottom part of the bandana is below her earlobe. So gesture. So I don't like her head tilt. So if I was going to work on this for hours, we're in this about 52 minutes right now. If I was going to work on this for hours, I would fix the tilt. But we're not there yet. Right now, this is just a very safe drawing. You can give it whatever tone you like to work with your atmosphere. Absolutely. Never thought of that. Yeah. You got it, Sandy. Yeah, I have so many stories to tell with the coaching students. For a while there, I had 10 coaching students. So for me, that's a lot. And yeah, that's a real lot. And I learned so much from so many people. And what I learned is some people think that you can complete a drawing like this in like 20 minutes. And quite frankly, 20 minutes is just the warm-up. You have to decide what you enjoy, number one. You have to decide what you want your style to be, number two. You have to understand who your role models are, so you understand what you like and what direction you want to go in. That would be, I guess, number three. I lost count already. But yeah, I mean, these things are important. You have to figure out, okay, do I enjoy taking my time? Or do I hate sitting all day trying to do these measurements and stuff like that? What do you enjoy to that? Okay, you're drawing the girl seems to lean forward, but on the reference, she looks upward. Yep, so that's going to be the tilt of her eye a little bit, Michael, like that. Okay, so everything counts, and if I lower the bandana, That will give it the appearance that she's looking up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm not even close to being perfect with this. I would really need to spend more time with it. And let's just get, so this shoulder is way down here, and this shoulder is way up here. Let's just get that angle in. Yeah, it's probably the eyes, because why? I haven't spent time with them. So maybe we can lower that lash and kneaded eraser. Wrong kneaded eraser. There's two companies that make kneaded erasers. I like the company Design, Desingn. Their erasers are so much harder. Why can't I talk today? This is, I don't know, Prismacolor makes this kneaded eraser. It's terrible. I don't even know why I keep it in my studio. It's too mushy and soft. This one's nice and hard, so it's not too pliable. So I'm going to lower her lash. Soft. And yeah, she's tilted. So I see there's a tilt here. That's perspective. There's a tilt here. So you just got to spend time with certain things. And there's always going to be part of the drawing that's unfinished until you finish it, right? So let me just spend a little bit more time over here. Tilt. No, I have not been able to order PlayStation 5, but my son will. He's addicted to video games, but he's been playing them on his computer now. He doesn't use Xbox, so I guess that means he's at a different level. Okay, so sharper. I'm just committing a little bit more here. Lowering that lash. And let's just put in a little bit of more tone over here. We'll come back to the eyes. So sometimes what I just did there, I wanted to do a little bit, live with it. My drawing, the measurements are not perfect. They're certainly not. I just need more time. So this is how I would start it. But finishing it would take me a while. So let's put in some angles. Really soft over here. Okay, so I'm happy. See how I'm squinting? I'm going to kick this out. Angle. And now let's get that lid. Let's lower. Let's raise her eye. Her eye is too big. That will help with the tilt. Good. Okay. All right, cool. Now, this is just way too dark, and I shouldn't be using my eraser just yet, but I'm just trying to show you guys some various techniques here. Let's pull this out, lighten all of this, lighten this. All this needs to be softer. Okay, so we're almost an hour in. I guess I'll work on this for like another 10 minutes. Okay. And maybe I'll work on this a little bit more today. Okay, this area in relationship to this. And now this lip is somewhat level. Open her mouth just a little. Shadow underneath that lip. Okay. And this dimple underneath her nose. So I'm going to just put in a little bit more tone here. A little darker over here as an anchor. A little darker over here as a balance anchor. So maybe what we need to do is commit to her hair being darker. Yeah. Let's go a little bit darker over here. Shape of hair, shape of face is an effective tool for you to use when you're drawing portraits. So you can see this would take me a while, right? Let's just block in a little more, a little bit more tone, a little bit more solid. That will help immensely. Why can't I pronounce your name? It's such a cool name. Raleigh? No. Um, Raleigh M. This is just me. It doesn't mean you have to do this, but I'm a measurement freak, and it's I like the challenge. I always go into every drawing where if it's a gesture drawing of the model, that's 2 minutes. If it's a 20-minute drawing, if it's a 3-hour drawing, I always like to get the likeness. That's my thing. I enjoy that. So for me, I want it to look like this painting. So it's fun. That makes it a challenge for me. It makes it fun for me. For other people, no, they don't care about measurements. What that does for other people is it causes them stress. So you have to find out your comfort zone and what you enjoy. Again, going back to enjoyment. And is it worth it for you to stress out trying to get the measurements right? Or maybe you approach it with a different mindset and you say, all right, my goal is I'm going to try to get the measurements right, and I'm going to do that in the beginning with these couple of measure lines and stuff like that. But if I don't get it, I'm not going to beat myself up. But my goal is to get the likeness. And that's how I always, even like with a 2-minute gesture drawing, anyone could do a beautiful 2-minute gesture drawing, 3-minute, 4-minute, but I don't want to be anyone. I want to do a 2-minute gesture drawing, and I want it to look like that body that person's body that I just drew. So it's different for everybody. And usually people who follow me in terms of me teaching them, especially online, there's a lot of people on the website who want to learn how to draw portraits and get the likeness, and I teach that a lot. Venezuela, my Aunt Lena was raised in Italy, and she moved to Venezuela, and she lived there for many, many years in Caracas. She doesn't live there anymore now. She lives in East Islip, New York. Do you know Watts Atelier, Matt? I know of them. I've never been within their members area. But I know the teachers that teach there have some pretty quality stuff, no doubt. But I don't want to lie and say I know a lot about them. I don't. I know of the website because when you earn your living with an online website like what I have, drawingtutorialsonline.com, I make it a point never to watch other people's videos, other teachers' videos, because I want to stick with my original voice. And I feel as if I start watching other teachers' videos, I'm going to start to use names of techniques that they use, and then I'm going to become less authentic. And I found recently, because of certain coaching students who love watching multiple teachers on YouTube, they've asked me what I think about certain techniques and of what teachers are teaching. And so there's so many good people out there. So I don't have a hard or firm opinion on the Watts Atelier, but from the drawings I've seen of some of the teachers, they're really good. You got it. So let's lift up this, and this will add to the perspective of the tilt of her head. Good. And we could shade. I appreciate that, Michael. What you have to understand is people who sign up for my website, when I first started my website so long ago, 2008, and it was great. The first couple months, people signed up, and then all of a sudden I got my first member who canceled. And then the second member canceled, and I was devastated. I'm like, what did I do wrong? But that's the wrong mindset. What you have to understand about being a student, an artist, is that you're always going to get and move on to a new teacher. That's just the way the world works. You learn the specialty from that particular teacher, and then that teacher is really, all teachers are very repetitive because they have their specialty that they teach, and you're like, yeah, I got it. Now I need to move on, and I need to learn. I need to learn something new from a different teacher who specialty maybe is color, or specialty maybe is digital painting, or specialty is oil painting. So it's very natural to move on to different teachers. And it's not that one teacher is better than the other, or this teacher sucks, or that teacher is no good. It's, is that teacher right for you at that particular time in your growth cycle? Okay. So I had teachers that were right for me in first year of college. They weren't that technical. And if they were really technical, I don't know if I would have been mature enough to understand and get into it. I had a technical teacher in fourth year, and that was better for me because I think I was more mature to handle the skill and putting the time in. But in first year of college, I was just not ready for that. So it's it's good to expose yourself to many, many different teachers, no doubt. And then there's the whole personality thing. You might like the personality of another teacher versus another one. Maybe one teacher is too serious for you. Maybe one teacher is too jokey for you. Like they like to joke around too much and they're not serious enough. So that's going to be a big thing also, how you connect with that individual teacher. So there's so many variables that go into it. I've seen Inktober. I think it's cool. I've never participated in it because I'm a Col-Erase guy. And usually October for me is really all about teaching at the college. And when I teach at the college, I have less time. I have more time in the summer. Yeah, I mean, I'm about accuracy. If you're doing, so it also depends on the type of art that you're doing. So maybe you're doing character design out of your imagination. You still have to be aware of likeness because you have to draw that character to look the same in many different positions. Maybe you want to be a portrait artist who does portraits of people. Likeness is everything. So it all is about the end game. What is the end game for you with your artwork? So for me, the end game was I used to paint book covers. And then I painted book interiors and I drew book interiors. And when you do that, you have to draw the character of the book looking the same. On page 20, it's the same that you do on page 30. So likeness is just huge for me. It's everything, quite frankly. But it stresses other people out. Other people don't care. It's all about what you like and the end game. So just blocking in a little bit of the bandana. Very soft. Okay. This would take me a while, but this is fun. Let's get some shapes over here. This is so soft, so if I screw up, I can erase out. We can blend into this. Okay, so let me just zoom in ever so slightly. So I'll work on it for a couple more minutes, and then we'll call this one a day, a class, a live stream, a drawing. I don't know if I'm going to work on it today after this, but I think I want to push this one a little bit more. Okay, that's better. Now, values, okay? Got some good sound effects going here with the pencil. I'm about each drawing's got to be different, and I don't like too many hard and fast rules. So if I'm doing a gesture drawing in the classroom with a live model and I've got 5 minutes, I'm going to use a gesture drawing technique. If I'm drawing the model for 2 hours, maybe I'll do some angles. It depends. Time, style, there's too many variables. And I like to start each drawing differently. I've never used the Loomis method. I just use the angles, and I use continuous line, and I use gesture, and I use measurements. Size relationships is another tool that I keep in my toolbox. So size relationship is that you look at this eye and how big is her eye in relationship to her entire head. That's a size relationship. Okay? But yeah, I'd never start the same way. Okay, we're now that line that I just put there is too wide, so that we can pull back. But sure, I can erase it, or I can leave it. I can turn it into background tone. I can fix this angle. There's a lot of different things that I can do. So I think we're going to put this one to bed. It needs a lot more work. Yeah, if anybody does anybody have any questions before we call this one a class? Let me resharpen. So this is only the second time I'm sharpening my pencil today. Crazy. Usually I sharpen all the time. Angle, angle. You got it. Dawn, right now I'm not offering the coaching, but I'll offer the coaching again in the summer months. And the reason for that, simply put, is I'm teaching at the School of Visual Arts, and my schedule just gets way too tight. And the coaching is very, very labor intensive. You have to put a lot of time into it. So what I would recommend, and I'm not a promotee person, but I do the group critique every week at drawingtutorialsonline.com, where you sign up to the website and you can get your work critiqued every single Monday. Mondays are when I do the group critiques. So you upload one drawing a week with photo reference, if applicable, to the critique gallery, and I critique it. So for $19 a month, that's really good. And I'm not tooting my own horn, and I'm not promoting, but that's an option for group coaching. Thank you, Ileana. Aura, thank you so much. Julio, thank you so much for joining me. John, I really appreciate it. I picked this point to start with because simply I just understood it, John. It made sense to me. So I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at that in relationship to her eyebrow area, eye socket area, and I see a rectangle here. It's weird. I always look for very simple geometric shapes. Sandy, I really appreciate you joining today from Northern Ireland. Partially human. Should I do what I want to do, even if it goes against social norm? Well, I mean, I do figure drawing, and people come into my studio, friends of the family, and they just freak when they see nudity. So I'd say yes. I love figure drawing. I'm never going to give it up if it makes somebody else feel uncomfortable, because I think I'm best at figure drawing, and I don't want to give it up. But figure drawing is not a social norm. I wasn't drawing in the last few days. You finally made me do it, so thanks. Jewel, appreciate that. Joseph, thanks for joining, Joseph. Ismael, thank you so much for joining on the live stream. Michael, post your work for the Monday critique. If you like the live stream, click on the thumbs up. If you want to be notified when I do the live streams, just subscribe to my channel and click on the notifications bell. That's my YouTube promote. It was so slick. Thank you, John. Jill, appreciate from the Isle of Man. Watch out for those speeding motorcycles. From the Philippines, love it. Eric, I thank you for joining. Sabi, thank you. If you guys want to download the photo reference, there's a link to this painting, or just type in Jean-Baptiste Greuze in Google and you'll find it. Frankie J, man, thanks. Awesome. Post some work in the critique gallery, Frankie. It doesn't need to be a masterpiece. I'm not a rough critiquer. You'll learn something. Joyce, and put your name when you post your image. Thank you, Joyce. Marie, say hi to the cats and draw, Marie, nice and slow. Take your time. I don't know what you like to drink, but yeah, just enjoy it. Coffee, tea, soda. Hello in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for joining. Kavya, thank you. Appreciate that. Awesome. All right, guys, you have a great Saturday, and I will see you next Saturday. And Costa Rica, awesome. And we'll do something fun, okay? If you want to give me suggestions for the live stream, email me. Go to my website and just click on the contact page and email me that way. Email at drawing-tutorials-online.com. And you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me.